Park Do-hyun climbed the steep mountain path with ease. His strong legs moved him upward without much effort. The cool morning air filled his lungs. He had been hiking since dawn, and now the sun was high in the sky. As a former Special Forces soldier, Do-hyun felt at home in these Korean mountains. After leaving the military 2 years ago, he found peace working as a mountain guide. Today was his day off, so he hiked alone, carrying only a small backpack with water, food, and basic tools. He stopped to rest on a large rock. The view of the valley below was beautiful. Small towns looked like toys from this height. Do-hyun took a drink of water and checked his phone. No signal, as expected. He was far from any cell tower. The sky was clear blue with no clouds. Perfect weather for hiking. But then, something strange happened. A shadow passed over him. Do-hyun looked up, expecting to see a large bird or maybe a small plane. Instead, he saw a massive object hovering in the sky. It was shaped like a disc with strange lights around its edge. It made no sound. Do-hyun blinked hard, thinking his eyes were playing tricks. "What the hell is that?" he whispered to himself. Inside the ship, Captain Telex viewed the human on the main screen. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the creature below. "Is this the specimen you selected, Dr. Loon?" Telex asked. His voice sounded like bubbling water. Dr. Loon moved her thin, gray body forward. Her long fingers tapped on the control panel. "Yes, Captain. This human shows excellent physical condition. The scanner detects high muscle density and efficient lung capacity, and it's alone, making collection simple." Telex nodded. "Proceed with extraction. Remember, Earth is classified as a Class 9 death world. Use extreme caution." On the mountain, Do-hyun was backing away slowly. His military training kicked in. Unknown threat. Seek cover. Find a defensive position. He moved toward a cluster of trees, never taking his eyes off the strange craft. The disc suddenly emitted a bright blue light that shot downward. The beam touched the ground near Do-hyun, then began moving toward him. Do-hyun ran. He sprinted between trees, jumped over rocks, and slid down small slopes. The blue light followed him like a hunter tracking prey. "Evasive movement detected," reported the ship's computer. "Adjusting tractor beam." "Fascinating," Dr. Loon said. "It immediately recognized danger and is displaying complex evasion tactics. Most specimens just freeze in fear." Do-hyun felt his heart pounding. He reached for his pocket knife, a poor weapon against whatever this was, but better than nothing. The blue light caught up to him just as he ducked behind a large boulder. Then he felt it. His body became light. His feet left the ground. Panic filled him as he rose into the air, kicking and fighting against the invisible force. "No, let me go," he shouted, though he knew no one could hear him. The ship's opening appeared above him. As Do-hyun was pulled inside, he threw his knife with perfect aim at a glowing panel. Sparks flew and alarms sounded. The specimen damaged the secondary intake system, a crew member shouted. "Already fighting back," Captain Telex noted. "Impressive. Administer the sedative immediately." A sweet-smelling gas filled the chamber where Do-hyun now floated. He held his breath as long as he could, using the technique he learned in military training. But eventually, he had to breathe. As the gas filled his lungs, Do-hyun's vision blurred. His last conscious thought was of Earth growing smaller below him through a small window. When he woke up, Do-hyun found himself in a clear cell. Strange symbols flashed on the walls. A metal band was around his wrist. He tried to stand but felt weak and dizzy. Outside his cell, creatures he had never imagined moved around, looking at him with curious eyes. One tall, gray being made notes on a glowing pad while watching him. Do-hyun had been tagged as Specimen DW-117 from Deathworlder. His new life as the most dangerous captive aboard the research vessel, Stellar Seeker, had just begun. Do-hyun sat on the floor of his cell, watching the strange beings move around outside. His head still felt fuzzy from the gas they used. He touched the metal band on his wrist. It showed strange symbols that kept changing. A tall alien with gray skin and huge black eyes watched him. This one had thin arms with 6 fingers on each hand. It made notes on a glowing pad. "Hello. Can anyone tell me what's going on?" Do-Yun called out. His voice sounded strange in the cell. The air felt different, lighter somehow. The alien looked up but didn't react to his words. It turned and walked away. Do-Yun stood up slowly. His legs felt stronger now. He walked to the clear wall of his cell and pressed his hand against it. It was hard like glass but warm. Suddenly, a door opened. A human woman walked in. She looked Korean, maybe in her 30s, with short black hair. She wore a strange uniform with the same symbols that were on his wristband. "You're awake." "Good," she said in Korean. "My name is Kim Ju-woo. I'm here to help you understand what's happening." Do-Yun rushed to the wall. "You're human. Are you a prisoner too? Can you help me get out?" Ju-woo's face showed no emotion. "I was taken 8 years ago. I'm not a prisoner anymore. I work with the Galactic Confederation now as a translator and researcher." Galactic Confederation. Do-Yun couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Yes, you're on the research vessel Stellar Seeker. You've been selected as a study specimen from Earth." She pointed to his wristband. "That says you are specimen TW117 from Deathworld Terra." "Deathworld? What does that mean?" Ju-woo sat on a small seat that appeared from the wall. "The Confederation ranks all planets by how dangerous they are to life. Earth is a Class 9 death world out of 10 possible levels." "That's crazy. Earth isn't that dangerous," Do-Yun argued. "To them it is," Ju-woo said. "Think about it. We live with dangerous bacteria and viruses everywhere. Our weather can kill us. We have earthquakes, volcanoes, floods. Our gravity is higher than most inhabited planets. Even our oxygen levels would poison many species." Do-Yun tried to process this information. "So they kidnapped me to study humans. Why me?" "You were alone, in good physical condition, and showed high intelligence markers. Plus, your military background makes you especially interesting to them." "How do they know about my background?" "They scan brain patterns. They can read basic memories and knowledge." Ju stood up. "The more you cooperate, the better you'll be treated. Fighting will only make things worse." Do-Yun looked at her carefully. "You've accepted this, haven't you? Being taken from Earth." Ju-woo's eyes hardened. "I've adapted. It's what humans do best. That's why they study us." Just then, another human was brought into the room next to Do-Yun's cell. This man was struggling against 2 large aliens who looked like walking rocks. They threw him into a cell. "Let me go, you freaks," the man shouted in Korean. "That's Han Minje," Ju said quietly. "Taken yesterday from Busan. He's not adapting well." Minje kicked at the clear wall of his cell, then winced in pain. "The cells are made of compressed energy fields. You can't break them," Ju explained. Do-Yun watched as Minje continued to fight and shout. Then he looked back at Ju. She seemed calm, but he noticed her hands were shaking slightly. "What do they plan to do with us?" Do-Yun asked. "First, they'll test your capabilities. Physical strength, problem solving, adaptation to different environments." Ju looked down. "I should warn you, you're doing too well already." "What do you mean?" "Most specimens panic, break down. You're calm, asking smart questions." She lowered her voice. "The calmer and smarter you appear, the more valuable you become to them. And valuable specimens are never released." Do-Yun understood. He needed to seem cooperative while watching for a chance to escape. He looked at Minje, still raging in his cell, then back at Ju with her perfect calm. There had to be a middle path, one that would keep him alive but not too valuable. "When do the tests begin?" he asked. "Tomorrow," Ju said. "Rest while you can." As she left, Do-Yun sat back down. He had one advantage. The aliens clearly underestimated humans, and that might be their biggest mistake. The next day, two rock-like aliens came to Do-hyun's cell. The clear wall disappeared, and they motioned for him to follow. Do-hyun stood up slowly and walked between them. They led him down a long hallway with curved walls. They entered a large round room. Captain Tlax sat on a raised chair. Dr. Loon stood nearby with her datapad. Ju was there too, standing quietly to one side. Specimen DW-117, welcome, Tlax said. Ju translated his bubbling words into Korean. My name is Park Do-hyun, not DW-117, Do-hyun said firmly. Ju translated this back. Tlax's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. Interesting. It insists on its designation from its home world. He turned to Dr. Loon. Begin the assessment. A door opened in the floor. A platform rose up with different objects on it. A rock, a stick, a piece of cloth, and a small container of water. We will now test your problem-solving abilities, Dr. Loon said through Ju. You will be placed in a simulated environment. Your task is to survive for 1 hour. Do-hyun looked at the simple objects. With these? Yes, most specimens from Class 6 Deathworlds or higher show ability to use basic tools. The floor beneath Do-hyun began to move. He was carried to another room. The walls changed color and texture. Soon, he was standing in what looked like a hot desert. The heat hit him immediately. The 4 objects lay at his feet. Do-hyun knew this was a test. He remembered Ju-woo's warning about being too valuable, but he also needed to survive. He picked up the cloth and tied it around his head for protection from the sun. He used the stick to dig under the sand, finding cooler layers below. He placed the water container in the hole to keep it cool. From the control room, Dr. Loon watched with interest. Most specimens drink the water immediately, she noted. This one is preserving it. Do-hyun sat in the shade of a small dune he had built. He waited, conserving his energy and water. When the simulated sun reached its hottest point, he took only small sips of water. Increase temperature by 15 degrees, Captain Tlax ordered. The heat became intense. Sweat poured down Do-hyun's face. He removed his shirt and soaked it with a small amount of water. He draped it over his shoulders, using evaporation to cool his body. Remarkable adaptation, Dr. Loon said. Adding rock predators. 3 lizard-like creatures appeared, moving toward Do-hyun. Their skin looked like stone, and they had sharp teeth. Do-hyun quickly grabbed the rock. He hit it against the stick to create a sharp edge. Now he had a simple weapon. When the first creature attacked, Do-hyun struck it hard behind its head. The creature fell down stunned. He used the cloth to tie its mouth shut. The other 2 creatures circled him. Do-hyun waited patiently. When they both rushed him, he jumped aside. The creatures collided with each other. Do-hyun used this moment to hit them both with his stone tool. In the control room, the aliens watched with amazement. It created a weapon and used tactical thinking. Dr. Loon said, most specimens just run from predators. The simulation ended. Do-hyun found himself back in the round room. He was sweating and tired, but he stood tall. Very impressive, Captain Tlax said. The humans survived extreme heat and predator attacks using minimal tools. Dr. Loon moved closer to examine Do-hyun. Its body adapted to heat better than expected, and its combat strategy showed high intelligence. Do-hyun noticed Ju-woo looking worried as she translated. He realized he had done too well again. Tomorrow, we will test your physical strength, Dr. Loon said. Return to your cell and rest. As the rock aliens led him back, Do-hyun passed the cell where Min-jae was kept. Min-jae looked at him with angry eyes. What did they do to you? Min-jae asked. Just tests, Do-hyun whispered. They're studying how we survive. We need to get out of here, Min-jae said quietly. Do-hyun nodded slightly. We will. But first, we need to learn more about this ship. Back in his cell, Do-hyun lay down. His mind was racing. The aliens were underestimating humans. They saw them as test subjects, not as potential threats. That would be their mistake. 3 days passed. Each day, the aliens tested Do-hyun in new ways. They made him run in high gravity. They put him in cold water to see how long he could survive. They made him solve puzzles to get food. Each time, he did just well enough to pass, but tried not to seem too special. On the 4th day, Do-hyun woke to loud alarms. Red lights flashed outside his cell. He stood up quickly and went to the clear wall. The hallway was empty. What's happening? He called to Min-jae in the next cell. I don't know, Min-jae answered, but the guards ran away a few minutes ago. Suddenly, the ship shook hard. Do-hyun had to hold the wall to stay standing. The lights in the hallway went out, then came back on with a dim blue color. A voice spoke over the ship's speakers in many languages. Do-hyun heard the Korean version. Emergency. Containment breach in Section 7. Dangerous specimen loose. All crew to safe rooms. Lockdown in progress. Do-hyun smiled. This could be their chance. The clear wall of his cell flickered. The energy field was weakening. Do-hyun picked up his food tray and slammed it against the wall. It bounced back. He tried again and again. On the 5th try, the wall flickered more and a small hole appeared. Do-hyun pushed his hand through and felt around until he found the control panel outside. He pressed buttons randomly until the wall disappeared completely. He was free. Help me, Min-jae called from his cell. Do-hyun ran to the control panel by Min-jae's cell and pressed the same buttons. The wall vanished, and Min-jae stepped out. We need to find weapons, Min-jae said. First, we need to find Ju-woo, Do-hyun replied. She knows this ship. The two men moved carefully down the hallway. The ship shook again, harder this time. They heard strange screams from far away. What do you think escaped? Min-jae asked. Something bad, Do-hyun said. I saw many dangerous creatures in the testing areas. They reached a door marked with alien symbols. Do-hyun pressed the panel beside it, and the door slid open. Inside was a small room with screens showing different parts of the ship. Ju sat at a control panel, typing quickly. She turned, surprised. How did you get out? The power went down. What's happening? Do-hyun asked. The Razak escaped, Ju said, fear in her voice. It's a predator from a Class 8 Deathworld. It has acid for blood and claws that can cut through metal. Can it be stopped? Min-jae asked. The security team is trying, but it's killing everyone it finds. Ju looked at the screens. The ship is in lockdown. No one can get in or out of sections. This is our chance to escape, Do-hyun said. Is there a way off this ship? Ju hesitated. There are escape pods, but they're in Section 2. We're in Section 5. We have to go through 3 locked sections with the Razak somewhere in between. Can you unlock the sections? Min-jae asked. Maybe, she said, but I've been here 8 years. The aliens trust me now. If I help you. They kidnapped you, Do-hyun said firmly. They took you from your home, your family. Don't you want to go back? Tears filled Ju-woo's eyes. My family thinks I'm dead. It's been 8 years. There's nothing for me on Earth now. Then help us for yourself, Do-hyun said. You're human, not one of them. Ju-woo wiped her eyes and nodded. She turned back to the control panel. I can open some doors, but not all. And I can show you where the Razak is on the maps. She pressed buttons, and a map appeared on the big screen. A red dot moved through Section 3. That's the Razak, she said. It's heading toward the control room where Captain Tlax is. Good, Min-jae said with a hard smile. Let it kill him. We need to move now, Do-hyun said. Can you download the ship's maps to something we can carry? Ju-woo nodded and took a small device from the wall. She pressed it against the screen, and the maps transferred. Let's go, Do-hyun said. As they stepped into the hallway, They heard a horrible scream from somewhere ahead. The uprising had begun. Douyin, Minja, and Juwu moved carefully through the dim blue emergency lights of the ship's corridors. The alarms had stopped, but the ship still shook from time to time. "This way," Juwu whispered, looking at the small device with the ship's maps. "We need to go through the lab to reach Section 4. They turned a corner and found 2 dead aliens on the floor. Their bodies were partly melted, with smoking holes in their chests. "The Razak," Juwu said quietly. "It was here." Minji bent down and took a weapon from one of the dead aliens. It looked like a short metal tube with buttons. "How does this work?" he asked. "Press the middle button to activate it. The top button fires," Juwu explained. Minju pressed the middle button. The tube hummed with energy. "Now we have a weapon," he said with a grim smile. They reached a large door marked Laboratory. Juwu pressed her hand to the panel beside it. "My access still works," she said as the door slid open. The lab was huge, with tall glass tanks lining the walls. Each tank held a different creature. Some looked like animals from Earth, but bigger, with more teeth or claws. Others were completely alien. "These are all from Deathworlds," Juwu said. "The Confederation collects the most dangerous species in the galaxy." Douyin walked to a computer terminal. "Can you access the files? I want to know why they're doing this." Juwu hesitated, then nodded. She typed commands into the terminal. Files appeared on the screen. As she read, her face grew pale. "This is not just research," she said. They're weaponizing the specimens." "What do you mean?" Douyin asked. "They're studying how different species survive extreme conditions. Then they're using that knowledge to create biological weapons." She scrolled through more files. "Look at this. They're extracting DNA from humans and other Deathworlders to create super soldiers." Minja looked at the tanks with new understanding. "We're not specimens. We're parts for their weapons." Douyin felt cold anger rising inside him. "Is Earth in danger?" Juwu searched through more files. "No. Actually, Earth is quarantined. The Confederation considers humans too unpredictable and dangerous to approach openly. That's why they only take a few humans at a time, in secret." "How many humans have they taken?" Douyin asked. Juwu's hands trembled as she read the file. "Hundreds. Most are at a research station called Facility Prime." "We need to warn Earth," Minja said. Douyin nodded. "And we need to free the other humans." A new file appeared on the screen. It showed a map of the galaxy with colored dots marking different planets. "These are all the Deathworlds they've quarantined," Juwu explained. "Earth is just one of many." Suddenly, the ship's speaker system crackled to life. Captain Telax's voice spoke in multiple languages. "Attention all crew. The escaped specimen has been contained. However, human specimens from Section 5 have escaped. They are considered extremely dangerous. Capture if possible. Terminate if necessary. All systems will remain in lockdown until they are found." "They know we're free," Minja said. Douyin looked at the screen again. "Where is this Facility Prime?" Juwu checked the files. "It's a space station near the edge of Confederation space. The ship received orders yesterday to deliver all Earth specimens there after testing is complete." "That's where the other humans are," Douyin said. "We need to go there, not back to Earth." "Are you crazy?" Minja argued. "We should escape while we can, and leave hundreds of humans as lab rats." Douyin shook his head. "If they're creating weapons from our DNA, we have to stop them." Juwu looked at Douyin with new respect. "You want to save everyone." "I was a soldier. We don't leave people behind." Douyin pointed to the map. "Can you download the location of Facility Prime?" Juwu nodded and pressed her device to the screen. "We'll need more help," Minja said, now agreeing with the plan. "We can't fight the whole Confederation." Douyin looked at the tanks of alien creatures. "Maybe we don't have to fight alone." A plan was forming in his mind. a dangerous plan that might just work. "We need to reach the communication center," Do-Yun said, looking at the map on Juwoo's device. "From there, we can send a message to all the specimens on the ship." "It's 3 sections away," Juwoo warned, "and there will be guards." Min-jae held up the alien weapon. "Let them try to stop us." They left the lab and entered a narrow maintenance tunnel that Juwoo knew about. It was tight and dark, but it let them move between sections without using the main hallways. "Stop," Juwoo whispered suddenly. She pointed to a junction ahead where the tunnel split in 3 directions. "Listen." They heard strange clicking sounds coming from the left tunnel. The sounds got louder. "Something's coming," Do-Yun said quietly. He picked up a metal pipe that had fallen from the ceiling. A shape appeared in the darkness. It was large, with 8 legs and a hard shell. It looked like a giant spider, but with sharp pincers like a crab. Min-jae raised the weapon, but Do-Yun put his hand on Min-jae's arm. "Wait," Do-Yun said. "Look at its leg." The creature had a metal band on one leg, just like the ones the humans wore. It was another specimen. The spider-crab creature clicked its pincers at them, but didn't attack. It seemed just as scared as they were. "It escaped during the lockdown too," Juwoo said. Do-Yun slowly lowered his pipe and took a step back, giving the creature space. It clicked again, then moved past them down the right tunnel. "It didn't attack us," Min-jae said, surprised. "It's running, just like we are," Do-Yun replied. "We have the same enemy." They continued through the tunnels until they reached a small door. Juwoo checked her device. "This opens into the storage room next to the communication center," she said. Do-Yun pushed the door open carefully. The storage room was dark and filled with boxes of equipment. They could see light coming from under another door. "There might be crew members inside," Juwoo whispered. Do-Yun nodded to Min-jae, who readied his weapon. Then Do-Yun slowly opened the door a crack and looked inside. The communication center was a large room with screens covering the walls. 2 aliens sat at control panels. One was a tall, thin being with 4 arms. The other was one of the rock-like guards. "2 of them," Do-Yun whispered. "We need to take them by surprise." Min-jae nodded. "I'll handle the rock one. You take the 4 arms." "No killing unless necessary," Do-Yun said firmly. They burst into the room. Min-jae fired his weapon at the rock alien, hitting it in the chest. It fell back, stunned but alive. Do-Yun sprinted to the 4-armed alien and struck it with his pipe. The alien collapsed to the floor. "Juwoo, lock the door," Do-Yun ordered. Juwoo rushed to the control panel and pressed several buttons. Metal shutters closed over the doors. "I sealed the room," she said. "Now let's hurry before they sound an alarm." Do-Yun went to the main communication panel. "How do we send a message to all the specimens?" Juwoo sat down and began typing. "We can use the translation system. It will convert our message into all known languages." She activated the system and nodded to Do-Yun. "Speak now. Every specimen on the ship will hear you." Do-Yun took a deep breath and spoke clearly. "To all captive beings on this ship, I am Park Do-Yun from planet Earth. I was taken against my will, just like you. The Confederation is not studying us for science. They are using us to make weapons. They are stealing our abilities to create soldiers. We are not specimens. We are people. Join us now. Together, we can take control of this ship and return to our homes. We are currently in the communication center in Section 2. If you want freedom, come find us." When he finished, Juwoo pressed more buttons. "Message sent to all sections. I also disabled the translation devices for the crew. They won't be able to understand each other for a while." "Now we wait," Min-jae said, keeping his weapon ready. They didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, they heard banging on the metal shutters. Do-Yun grabbed his pipe, ready for a fight. The metal shutter bent inward. Then it tore open. The spider-crab creature stood there. Behind it were 2 more escaped specimens, one that looked like a lizard with armored skin, and another that resembled a small insect-like being with large eyes. The spider crab clicked its pincers. The translation system spoke. "We heard your message. We want freedom too." The alliance of Deathworlders had begun. The communication center was now filled with strange creatures from different worlds. The spider crab, which called itself Krill, clicked its pincers as it spoke through the translator. "Our homeworld is called Vex 9. The Confederation took me 3 moon cycles ago." The lizard-like creature with thick armor plates thumped its tail on the floor. "I am Tark, from the burning sands of Troll. 2 years in their cages. No more." The small insect being with huge eyes and 6 thin arms moved forward. Its voice was high and fast. "My name is Zix. My people build things. I can help with ship systems." Doyan nodded to each of them. "We all have different skills. Together, we can take control of this ship." Jumu pulled up a map of the ship on the main screen. "We need to capture 3 key areas: the engine room, the bridge, and the security center. If we control those, we control the ship." "How many crew members?" Doyan asked. 42, Ju said, "but many are scientists, not fighters." More escaped specimens arrived. Soon, there were 15 different creatures in the room, all wearing the metal bands that marked them as captives. Doyan stood on a box so everyone could see him. "We need to split into 3 teams. Team 1 will take the engine room. Team 2 will capture the security center. Team 3 will attack the bridge where Captain Telax is." The creatures sorted themselves by abilities. Tark and 3 other strong beings would attack the security center. Zix and the technical specimens would take the engine room. Dohyun, Minja, Krill, and 2 others would go for the bridge. "What about weapons?" Minja asked. Jumu pointed to a storage cabinet. "Emergency weapons are stored here." She opened it to reveal more of the tube-shaped weapons. Dohyun distributed them to those who could hold them. "One more thing," Dohyun said. "No killing unless absolutely necessary. We are not like them. We do not kill for science or power." Some creatures seemed confused by this, but they nodded in agreement. "Juwu will stay here and coordinate our movements," Dohyun continued. "Now, let's move out." The teams left the communications center and moved through the ship. Alarms began to sound as the crew realized what was happening. Captain Telax's voice came over the speakers. "All crew to battle stations. The specimens are attempting to take over the ship. Use lethal force if necessary." Dohyun's team encountered 4 crew members in a hallway. Krill moved with surprising speed, pinning 2 of them to the wall with its pincers. Minjae stunned another with his weapon. The 4th tried to run, but Dohyun tackled him to the floor. "Bind them and continue," Dohyun ordered. They reached the door to the bridge. It was sealed with a heavy metal door. "How do we get through?" Minjae asked. Krill clicked its pincers. "I can cut metal." The spider crab began to slash at the door with its sharp pincers. Sparks flew as it cut through the thick metal. Meanwhile, Ju's voice came through their wristbands. "Security center is captured. Tark's team has control." This was good news. Dohyun smiled as Krill finished cutting a hole in the door. They burst onto the bridge. Captain Telax stood with 5 crew members, all holding weapons. "Stop right there," Telax ordered. "You specimens have gone too far." "We are not specimens," Dohyun said firmly. "We are living beings with rights." Telax fired his weapon. The energy blast hit Minjae in the shoulder. He fell backward with a cry of pain. "Minja!" Dohyun shouted. Krill moved with blinding speed, slashing at the crew members. The other creatures in Dohyun's team fired their weapons. In the chaos, Dohyun ran straight for Captain Telax. The captain fired again, but Dohyun dodged the blast. He tackled Telax to the ground and pressed his weapon against the alien's throat. "Order your crew to surrender," Dohyun demanded. Telax's 6 eyes blinked rapidly. "You cannot pilot this ship. You will all die in space. We have Juwu. and Zix can work your systems. Do-Yun pressed harder. Surrender now. After a moment, Tlax spoke into his communicator. All crew, this is Captain Tlax. Stand down. I repeat, stand down. Do-Yun looked around. The bridge was theirs. Minje was hurt but alive, holding his injured shoulder. Juwoo's voice came over the communication system. Engine room secured. We have control of the ship. The takeover was complete, but as Do-Yun looked at the ship's forward screen, he saw something that made his blood run cold. They were approaching a massive space station. We've reached Facility Prime, Juwoo said, her voice trembling. And they're expecting us to deliver human specimens. Facility Prime filled the view screen. It was massive. A space station shaped like a wheel with spokes reaching out from a central hub. Hundreds of ships were docked along its outer ring. They're hailing us, Juwoo said from the communication panel. They expect Captain Tlax to respond. Do-Yun looked at Tlax, who was now tied to a chair. Tell them everything is normal. Say you have specimens to deliver. Tlax's 6 eyes narrowed. And if I refuse? Krill clicked its pincers near the captain's face. Tlax flinched. Fine, the captain said. He spoke into the communicator, his voice steady. Facility Prime, this is Captain Tlax of the Stellar Seeker. Requesting permission to dock. We have specimens from Earth for delivery. A voice answered. Permission granted, Stellar Seeker. Proceed to docking Bay 12. Admiral Zorn will meet you to inspect the Earth specimens personally. When the communication ended, Do-Yun gathered his allies. We need a new plan. This station will have hundreds of security forces. Zix, the insect-like being, moved its thin fingers over a control panel. Ship's database shows station schematics. Many laboratories, many specimens held inside. The screen showed images of the station's interior. There were large halls filled with glass containers. Each container held a different creature, or a human. There must be at least 100 humans there, Minje said, his injured shoulder now bandaged. Do-Yun studied the images. We can't fight them all. We need to be smart. He turned to Juwoo. Can we use the ship's weapons? Yes, she said. The Stellar Seeker has defense systems. Good. Here's the plan. Do-Yun said. We dock as expected. When Admiral Zorn comes to inspect us, we capture him. Then we use the ship's weapons to disable the station's defense systems. That will cause confusion. During that time, we enter the station and free the prisoners. The plan was set. The ship docked smoothly at Bay 12. Through the cameras, they watched as a group of aliens approached the airlock. At the front was a tall figure in a black uniform with gold markings. That's Admiral Zorn, Juwoo said. He oversees all research on specimens from Class 8 and 9 Deathworlds. Everyone hide, Do-Yun ordered. Only Tlax and Juwoo will be visible when the doors open. The others hid behind control panels and in side rooms. Juwoo stood beside Captain Tlax, who was untied but had Krill hiding just behind him, ready to strike if he tried to warn the Admiral. The airlock doors opened. Admiral Zorn stepped onto the ship with 4 guards. Captain Tlax, Zorn said, his voice deep and raspy. I hear you have some interesting Earth specimens. Yes, Admiral, Tlax said stiffly. Right this way. Tlax led them toward the bridge. As soon as they entered, Do-Yun gave the signal. Everyone jumped out from hiding. Krill grabbed Tlax. Tark and the other strong creatures tackled the guards. Do-Yun aimed his weapon directly at Admiral Zorn. But Zorn moved with shocking speed. He dodged the attack and grabbed Do-Yun by the throat, lifting him off the ground with one hand. Humans, Zorn said with disgust. Always causing problems. Do-Yun couldn't breathe. He kicked at Zorn, but the Admiral's arm was impossibly strong. Minje fired his weapon at Zorn. The blast hit the Admiral in the back, but he barely flinched. He turned, revealing metal implants along his spine. Foolish creatures, Zorn laughed. I have been enhanced with abilities from 20 different death worlds. You cannot defeat me." He threw Do-hyun across the room. Do-hyun crashed into a wall and fell to the floor, gasping for air. Zorn pressed a button on his wrist. "Security, we have a situation in Docking Bay 12. The specimens have taken control of the Stellar Seeker." Alarms blared throughout the station. On the screens, they could see security forces running toward their ship. "We need to act now," Ju shouted. She ran to the weapons control panel and began pressing buttons. The ship shuddered as its weapons fired at the station's defense systems. Explosions bloomed in space. Zorn lunged for Ju, but Tark intercepted him. The lizard-like creature slammed into the Admiral, knocking him down. "The station's defenses are down," Ju called out, "but they've locked the docking clamps. We can't leave." "We're not leaving," Do-hyun said, getting to his feet. "Not without the other humans." As security forces reached the airlock, Do-hyun faced his allies. The real battle was just beginning. Admiral Zorn threw Tark across the room and stood up. His uniform was torn, revealing metal implants and strange scales on his skin. "You cannot win," Zorn said, walking toward Do-hyun. "I have the strength of a droll warrior, the speed of a Vex hunter, and the healing of a Terran mammal." Do-hyun backed away, thinking fast. If Zorn had abilities from many worlds, he must have weaknesses too. No body could perfectly combine so many different systems. "Zix," Do-hyun called to the insect being. "Scan him. Find where the implants connect." Zix's huge eyes focused on Zorn. Neck and lower back. Connection points glow slightly. Do-hyun nodded to Krill. "Distract him." As security forces began cutting through the airlock door, Krill leaped at Zorn, pincers snapping. The Admiral blocked the attack, but didn't see Do-hyun circling behind him. Do-hyun jumped on Zorn's back and pressed his weapon against the glowing spot on the Admiral's neck. "Order your forces to stand down," Do-hyun demanded. Zorn laughed. "Never. Kill me if you want, but hundreds more will come." "We don't want to kill anyone," Do-hyun said. "We just want to go home." He pressed harder. "But I will disable these implants if I must." Zorn hesitated, then spoke into his communicator. "All forces, hold position. Do not enter the ship." The cutting at the door stopped. "Now, release the docking clamps," Do-hyun ordered. Zorn pressed buttons on his wrist device. The ship shuddered as the clamps released. "Ju," Do-hyun called. "Can you access the station's controls from here?" Ju was already working at a terminal. "Yes. I'm in their system. I can open all the containment cells." "Do it," Do-hyun said. On the screens, they watched as hundreds of glass containers opened throughout the station. Humans and other creatures stepped out, looking confused but hopeful. "Send them a message," Do-hyun said. "Tell them to come to Docking Bay 12. As Ju sent the message, Zix made an excited chirping sound. "Found station database. Has coordinates for all home worlds." "Download it," Do-hyun ordered. "We'll need that to return everyone home." Min-jae, still guarding Captain Telax, looked at the screens. "They're coming. The freed prisoners are fighting their way here." Within minutes, dozens of humans and other creatures began pouring into the ship. They had fought past the guards using their numbers and determination. Do-hyun kept his weapon on Zorn as the ship filled with freed prisoners. When the last ones boarded, he ordered the Admiral and Captain Telax placed in a secure room. "Seal the airlock," he told Ju. "Get us away from the station." The Stellar Seeker pulled away from Facility Prime. Other ships began to follow, but Zix had disabled their weapon systems. They couldn't stop the escape. As they moved away from the station, Ju looked at the freed humans with tears in her eyes. "We did it. We're going home." Do-hyun nodded. "First, we send warnings to all Death worlds about the Confederation. Then we return everyone to their planets." One by one, they visited different worlds, dropping off the freed specimens. Each time, They used the ship's systems to set up warning beacons that would alert the planet if Confederation ships approached. Finally, after weeks of travel, they reached Earth. Do-hyun looked at his home planet on the view screen. It was beautiful, blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land. "What will we do when we get back?" Min-jae asked. His shoulder had healed, and he stood tall beside Do-hyun. "We'll keep this ship," Do-hyun said. "And the alien technology. Earth needs to be ready if the Confederation ever returns." Ju-woo nodded. "We'll create a secret organization, people who know the truth and can protect Earth." As the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, they aimed for a remote area in the Korean mountains, the same place where Do-hyun had been taken. The stellar seeker landed smoothly in a hidden valley. The door opened, and fresh Earth air rushed in. Do-hyun took a deep breath. It smelled like home. That night, as the others slept in the ship, Do-hyun climbed a nearby hill and looked up at the stars. So many worlds, so many beings like himself, just trying to live free. A small light blinked on the communication device he carried. A message from their allies on other worlds. The Deathworlders were keeping in touch, forming a network of protection. The Galactic Confederation had made a terrible mistake. They had kidnapped the most dangerous Deathworlder in the galaxy, and in doing so, they had awakened something far more powerful than any weapon they could create. They had awakened unity.